Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast. And what do you know? It's been a big week in gaming. I'm integot for episode 77 on Sunday, the 24th of April, technically the Monday, 25th of April, 2022. In this week's show, we'll be discussing a new Tales from the Borderlands game is in the works, what's going on with Nintendo's release schedule, and I review the post-apocalyptic survival horror game, Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
Shut up! Bigwig's on the radio! Shut up! It's Gaming Focus Audio!
As always, I'm joined by Mike. Oh wait, am I?
Hello!
And Swinny.
Hello!
It's back to the classic lineup, Swinny. As always, you can check out our links in the description or visit us at bigwigpod.com. So we're Mikeless again, Swinny.
Yeah, it's we're recording a day after we normally do, but technically still on the Sunday for most international listeners.
That's true.
And unfortunately, just couldn't work out that the good old gamer anti-gamer Mike could be on the show, so he's skipping this one out for us.
It is funny how he fought to get on the show, and then he's like, "I hate games." But then it also puts in so much time into Elden Ring, much more than even me. So
yeah, well, I mean, look, if you're gonna make one exception,
yes,
what an exception to make. So
and speaking of which, maybe the hype man can take that nice segue that I've given you.
yes, so we will finally be reviewing Elden Ring because we've all completed it as of probably over a week ago now. But we chose not to do the review this episode so that Mike could obviously be a part of it. But we are looking to actually do it as its own kind of special 0.5 episode, so we can also like split it up a bit where we talk about it in general terms, and then we can also do a whole big spoiler segment in the second half or whatever of that. Because honestly, a lot of the stuff I want to talk about this, and the same with probably you guys, will be spoilery. Because that Elden Ring's full of moments that you just want to talk about, but is going to be ruin the experience if someone wants to go in blind. So
And then we'll never talk about it again.
never talk about it. And also, I've put in here that once we're kind of through that period and we kind of know where we're at with the rest of our scheduling, with our special features, I do want to do my Final Fantasy battle system tier list sooner than later. Considering it doesn't seem like we'll be doing our Earthbound segment anytime soon for Game of some other year. So I might as well jump in with my tier list there. So that's ranking the battle systems and a bit of the, I guess, progression systems of the mainline Final Fantasy games.
Nice. I'm actually very seriously considering going back to Elden Ring. So I've not played it for like 3 to 4 weeks, I think. And I'm thinking of, instead of playing New Game Plus, because that's where I'm up to, actually going back to the PS4 version on the PS5 and playing that. And just playing like a clean profile again. I don't know, maybe go for the platinum on that one.
Well, I'm going to talk about Elden Ring a little bit as well.
Oh, okay.
I've just got one correction. Like, let's pause the Elden Ring for a second.
Okay.
In our unpopular gaming opinion features, when I was talking in my first one about BioShock being overrated, which was one of my unpopular opinions, I had made an assumption. It wasn't like I didn't say it as fact. I'm like, I assumed the darkness, because I was comparing the darkness, the game, to BioShock in terms of a game I think should have gotten more praise than the other. That actually came out 2 months before BioShock. I had assumed that came out after BioShock. Still in the same kind of era, but so they were very close together. So just a quick correction there. But yes.
Maybe it's a thing about the word dark, but I think Dark City got massively overshadowed by The Matrix. I don't know if you've seen the movie Dark City.
I had to study Dark.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I love that movie so much. Anyone who hasn't heard of that movie, go check it out where it's streaming and watch it. It's incredible. It's amazing how much hype The Matrix gets and like how no hype that movie gets. I struggle to understand.
Alex Proyer or something like that. The Australian director.
Yeah. It's an Aussie director. I can't remember the name.
And a bunch of other cool films.
No, it's awesome. Like that is a true cult classic. That's a true cult classic. All right, enough of big weekend movies. Let's move on to what we've been playing. And I think I pressed the button twice, but we'll see how we go. I'm rusty. So yeah, Mike's been playing Elden Ring for, 8 weeks and counting. Has he been playing anything else? He went to buy Kirby, but he didn't get it.
I mean, I don't know if in the last couple of weeks he's been playing anything else. I know last episode he was talking that he did touch
Dabble.
a little bit of weird dabble. I was about to say dwindle, dabble in a little bit of Weird West. But
That's true.
I know that Elden Ring was, he's by his account, and he would admit it, like he's not been super into gaming these last couple of months, except obviously Elden Ring. Elden Ring was like the thing that he was waiting for, but. By all accounts of his chat, he's beating the game and he just keeps going back to it and just doing stuff. And he obsessively kept talking about the farming spot, the end game farming spot. It's like, okay, cool.
He loves min-maxing, and he loves like the idea of like, okay, how can I kill all of these guys the quickest as possible? Put a counter on, time it for no purpose at all, because he doesn't even level up that much. It's quite funny. He gets off on that kind of stuff. But that is actually where the difference between Series X and PlayStation 5 comes into it a little bit. Because that's a percentage of time, the loading time between the two consoles starts to be more significant.
Yeah, but sitting at a side of grace doesn't take that long.
So okay, interesting.
If you're literally fast traveling,
Okay. So you're now it's now we need a race between you and him. To see.
I'm sure that City to Side of Grace on PS5 is probably slightly quicker than City to Side of Grace on Series X, I'm sure. But I know the loading times for fast traveling is definitely a significant difference there.
No, fair enough. So what I've been playing, and I'll cover it in the review, but Kirby and the Forgotten Land, the game that I totally shat on, the demo, I ended up playing because it was selling for like $40 at Harvey Norman. I'm like, this is like a free rental, essentially.
Oh, so I commend you for picking the game up and giving it another chance, definitely. But you being like, here's a game I just didn't like. I'm canceling my pre-order. I was considering pre-order, not going to pre-order. Oh, it's only $40. I'll buy it. Yet here you are, like, Game Pass isn't worth it for like the couple of dollars I spent. No. And it's like I have to sit here doing a chart of value versus what I'm getting out of it, and here like $40 for a game that you didn't think you'd like. I just love that.
No, I'll explain. It's easy. I can easily defend myself here. Right. Number one, I had it in like my most anticipated games, so I want to give it a fair shot. Right. Okay. I did the demo. Didn't like the demo at all. Felt it was way too like linear, straightforward, and it also just wasn't what I expected. I thought it was going to be more open, more sandboxy. It's not at all. First thing. Second thing is that it's not like Game Pass. Getting for $40, I could sell it today for $60.
That's right? If you're into selling games. I don't factor that into when I purchase.
Well, sure,
games.
but that's you. But this is me.
I'm just laughing at the fact that
no, but you're having
you're saying $40.
No, let me finish.
You're saying $40,
Mr. Speaker,
nothing.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the member for Melbourne needs to sit down. So this is about me, not you. So this is about my criticism of like Game Pass and then how I think about these things. So I don't sell very many games at all, right? It's normally I'll buy a game physically and then go, shit, I want to play this more often and jump back into it. So I buy it digitally and then sell the physical copy. Something like that, right? I thought, look, it's $40. It's a Nintendo first party. It's probably never going to go below $50 ever. Like on the used market, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get it, have another try because it's the full game. And if I don't like it, I'm just going to go sell it. I might even go sell it to EB Games. I'm sure they'll probably give like $50 for it or something like that, or $40 minimum, I reckon. So to me, it was like it's not even like a free rental. Like I looked at it as like, well, I'm getting paid to play this game. Like worst case scenario, right? And if I like it, it's like, okay, $40, like that's for a first party Nintendo game. That's like, what is that US? Like $30. Like it's like half price essentially in Australia for US pricing. So it's like, have a crack. Anyway, wait till the review to see what I think of it. Then also what I've been playing is a bit of DLC actually. So I went back to Fire Emblem Three Houses. I didn't realize how many hours I put into that game. It was like over 100 hours. I played in that game. I couldn't believe it. And I went to go back to where I left the game off. I never finished the game. I was playing I don't know why. I was playing on hard classic mode. So you have permadeath if any of your characters die, and hard mode is more for like experienced Fire Emblem players. I don't know why I was playing the game like that. I got right to the last few chapters, and I tried to play that chapter again, and I'm like, oh, now I remember why I gave up on this, because I was like so frustrated that I couldn't beat without like, having anyone die.
But integot, that's the real way to play. If you play it any other way, you're not a real gamer.
Yeah, true. I will go back to it, and I'll bump it from hard to normal. That's what I'm planning to do. But in the interim, just to get back into it, I actually have the Fire Emblem 3 Houses DLC. So Cindered Shadows, which is like introduces the fourth house to 3 houses. And it's a very separate side story, so you can kind of play it. I think as long as you get past I don't want to spoil anything, but there's something that happens in the game about halfway through that you want to probably experience before playing the DLC, in my opinion. But you know, if you've done that, it's fine. You don't need to finish 3 houses. So I'm going through the side story right now, which is really cool. The other one is Mario Kart 8, man. Like, I'm like really loving this DLC. I don't understand why everyone's like shitting on it, just because I feel like people have this vision that they're just taking Mario Kart Tour and porting the levels across to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That hasn't been my experience, and even when people are showing it side by side, they've definitely done work on the tracks, and some of the tracks, from what I understand, aren't even in Mario Kart Tour. So I don't know why people have this real negative attitude towards this DLC. I reckon it's awesome. Like, I'm really enjoying it. It's actually cool to... It just gets you back into playing Mario Kart, and you go, oh yeah, this game's awesome. I understand why it's sold like 40 million copies.
I will say, and I upfront, like, I've not tried these DLC tracks at all. I agree 100%. Like, to me, this is the first time they've ever done this for Mario Kart, not counting World Tour. You know, adding tracks.
That's not true. They did that in Wii U.
Sorry,
yeah.
I was going to say, like, first time they've added this amount. Like, I know they added a lot. They added a lot in Mario Kart 8, because I had that and I had the DLC and everything for that. But this volume of tracks, I'm talking, it's almost like an entire game's worth of tracks adding in.
It's doubling the current track number.
But I will say that not all of them. But when I was looking at the trailer footage that's showing at the moment, there were a couple that I'm like graphically just didn't look, because Mario Kart 8 is a gorgeous game. To me, it's one of the best looking games on the system, and just some of them I'm like, oh, I don't know, maybe it was just because they're going a bit slower in the trailer than what you'd normally see it, and so they don't need to put as much detail in. But it did feel a little like, oh, that maybe I'm blinded, and maybe Mario Kart 8 wasn't as good looking as I remember, but maybe it's just because some of these tracks, they haven't maybe put as much care into them visually.
Yes, I dispute that. I think you definitely want to play all the tracks to form that view, and if you do form that view, that's your opinion, right? But I do think, like, number one, the YouTube compression and just like how things are presented on YouTube versus actually playing it definitely affects things. I know how many times people have played games like Guardians of the Galaxy and going, oh, this game's awesome when you play it. Like, it doesn't come across as well on trailers and YouTube. And I think for me, it's like the style's definitely changed. Like, I don't view it, like, maybe I'm wrong, but I view it as like they've gone for a different style. Like, Mario Kart 8's been out for almost 10 years now. Like, I feel like the developers and the team and the artists are like, let's go back to more of a cartoony style. Because even one of the tracks is brand new, but it's more of a cartoon old school style of Mario Kart rather than the Mario Kart 8 style that they launched with.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe the art style was just different. But, and trust me, I was looking at this. Like, I know what you're saying about YouTube compression, but it just visually looked a lot simpler. So
it is,
I was
but
like,
it is.
But anyway, look, it is what it is. Like, these are not. I'm also not. Again, I haven't played them, but for the value you're getting for this, it's pretty crazy. Especially if you've got the expansion pass for already. You're not having to pay for this separately. So
No, exactly. Yeah. It's interesting what they're doing with the expansion pass. We'll get to it when we talk about the shake-up that Nintendo's done with their release lineup. But outside of that, I've been away down actually in Melbourne. So I haven't had that much of a chance to play anything outside of my Switch, but it's been cool going back to the Switch. And it kind of made me realize how awesome that system is going back to it. Because I've been smashing the PS5 recently, like God of War and all these other games, Spider-Man. But there is something just really inherently cool about the Switch as a system. It's just so like get you into the game, play, and then get out of it really quickly that I will always appreciate, especially being a busy dad. But I must admit, there was a few moments I was like, especially with the new patch with Elden Ring, I'm like, damn, I want to like get back into it and try a few things out and, maybe do a new playthrough. So I don't know. I could actually imagine myself installing it later today, even though I need to go back to God of War at some point. But yeah, it's tricky. But that is an amazing game. But I'll segue into your week or multiple weeks in gaming at this stage, I guess.
Yeah, so a little bit going on. So with Elden Ring, I'm not going to talk too long about this because, as we said, we're going to review it. I'll just say, yeah, as mentioned, I beat it last week. Just, just in general, this game feels like such an achievement in game design. Like, how the fuck did they pull that game off
in that time, right?
It's
crazy.
I don't get it. Look, you can look at how they've reused some stuff and things, but it's like, man, like look at what they've done, like especially compared to other people that have attempted something on a similar scale. It is just wild. But the other thing is this game just feels like one of those like all-time classic cornerstones of gaming. Like it feels like we've just gone through. This game just came out, so it's basically 2 months old now. But it feels to me like a cultural milestone of gaming. So like I look at games like your Legend of Zelda, your Mario 3, Final Fantasy 7, Half-Life 2, these kind of big moment games, and it has that feeling to me that because this is not only obviously the people that love Souls games love this game, but there's been so much discourse and so much people talking about this game outside of that space that you'd normally expect. It just feels like that milestone game for me. So it'll be obviously interesting in 10 years' time if we're all still thinking about it the same way, or if something has come along that's kind of felt better or whatever. But I'm not saying it's like it's trend setting. It just feels like that big time game. It's like that blockbuster game that you'll just always remember. Man, remember when Elden Ring came out? How crazy was that? So
yeah. I mean, I don't think it's even a hot take to say it's going to be this generation's Skyrim. I think in the same way that like Breath of the Wild kind of like is at that echelon of just like, because it's funny to look at, but Breath of the Wild, in terms of the sales, it just smashed like all the other Zelda games to pieces, right? It actually grew the audience so much. And I think that's the biggest thing of this game. Like I see it on Twitter all the time. People are like, oh, I've never played the Souls games. I'm not good at them, blah, blah, blah. But I've had a crack. I really love this game. They might not finish it, but I think the thing is with the Souls games, you do get up to these, well, in all the ones that have come so far, you get up to points where it's just like a roadblock. Like you can't do anything. Like if you're just not good enough, really. Like you can kind of grind and do some stuff like that. But I think that's so much more laborious and difficult in the Souls games previously. Whereas this game is like people just fuck off and go do something else and have fun and, do different builds. And yeah, like people I know who hate the Souls games, like have played this and said, oh yeah, it's pretty decent. Like I like it. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm struggling to think, but I feel like there are examples like this where something's bubbled away and then just had something that's like taken off. Like maybe even like a Persona 5 where it's like, that's been like, if you include Shin Megami Tensei, it's like they've all been like bubbling away, but it wasn't until then it exploded worldwide. It's always had a big audience in Japan. Yeah, I guess there's a few examples of that with like even like Dragon Quest, right? Dragon Quest 12 went crazy, but this game,
11.
11. Yeah. But this game, yeah, it's. Let's leave it to the spoiler cast. But I want us to all kind of go, where do we think it ranks with like the other Souls games? I think that would be like a fun thing to do as well.
The other thing is that it's been. I'm so glad I've finally obviously beaten the game. It means I can now absorb a lot of the community and a lot of the content creators that I would watch on a daily basis before Elden Ring. But as soon as Elden Ring came out, I was like, I have to go on, like radio silence for that. And like let's plays that I, from channels that I always watch, like, the Aussie guy that I've watched play through all the Dark Souls games from beginning to end, and his journey up until this point. It's like now I can watch him go through as well. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to a deep dive when we do our reviews.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. Hopefully we'll be able to do it in the next couple of weeks and get it done.
So the other stuff I've been playing, so my PlayStation Pile of Shame resolution, where I'm completing 13 PlayStation exclusives that I have not played before.
What's your current status, by the way, of the 13?
Well, I'm about to talk about that. So I have now completed 4 of the 13 games. So
what?
So I completed an extra 2 in the last couple of weeks. So they're not super long games or anything. So I completed Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, which I'm not going to talk too long about this. Just
but I want to hear, because I was kind of like mixed on the game.
So Rift Apart, it's a fun game. It feels like, and I'm not saying this in a bad way. It feels like a PS2 game with a gorgeous. No, that's not a bad thing. It feels like a PS2 game in terms of design with a gorgeous splash of paint on it, and that's good. Like, it's, to me, it's good to have a game that feels like a throwback in terms of the way it's made and the way it plays. It just obviously looks nothing like a PS2 game. It looks absolutely awesome. Gorgeous. Yeah. I think the thing for me is, especially at the start, and I kind of, got used to it, is it's so Saturday morning cartoony in terms of its tone.
This is what I said as well, right?
Yeah. And which is not, like, maybe I liked some of that stuff when I was younger, but obviously I'm much older now. And so it was like, it's a bit like, I don't know if, and some of the character designs are a bit like, I don't know. There's lots of great 3D animation houses out there now other than Pixar, right?
Yeah.
But you remember when Pixar was like
the only game in town? Yeah.
Pixar, and then like what felt like knockoffs, right?
It was, though. It was 100% knockoffs.
And some of the character designs in this, I'm sure they're probably carried over from the original Ratchet and Clank games.
I felt like you're shitting on this game. So.
No, it's just not like, the art style is not my thing. I don't really like it very much at all.
Yeah, honestly. No, I get you, man.
Even Ratchet himself, it's like, but you get used to it. But the game itself is really fun. I think it's a great game for older kids. Like, as in, I think some of the systems for like young kids is probably a bit too much, but it holds your hand so much as well. Like, you die, you respawn like
just instantly, and you lose like 1 coin or something.
It's so forgiving. But no, really, really fun. It's worth a shot. I don't think it's worth over $100 or whatever it launched with. That is a lot of money for a game like that, I think, but it has a decent amount of content. It's not super long, but it's got some extra stuff you can collect and things. So,
I feel like I'm being vindicated here. Like,
I agree with your opinion. Man.
Yeah, it's like the biggest thing I'll say about the game is like this game 100% is suffering from what people say about Nintendo games, that they get a Nintendo shine, like an extra 5 points on Metacritic, right? This game sits at like 88 out of 100 on Metacritic. I'm sorry. That becomes meaningless. It's not 88 out of 100. No way.
I will say I also have not played any of the previous games, so I can't compare them.
But that doesn't matter. Just judging it as a number, like, that's to me nutty. Like, the highest I could ever imagine realistically going is maybe like an 8 out of 10. Because ultimately this game is so forgettable. Like, this game does not stay with you. We will not be talking about this game in 5 years. There's zero chance.
One thing, actually, I wasn't going to mention this, but now you've kind of reminded me, is what I did really like about the game is how much it incentivized you to use a mix of the weapons.
Yeah,
and there's a bunch of weapons. And the fact that when you use the weapons, the more you use them, the more you unlock. Like, you can level them up 5 times or whatever. And it felt like, okay, I need to actually mix these up so that, I can level them all up. And it got me using, like them all, basically, which was really cool. So anyway, that was one of the games I completed. This
game got 22 100s.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
This is what I'm talking about. It's like, are these people getting paid? Like, seriously,
anyway, I don't want to shit on the game.
But can I just say, like, because we've shat on it a bit, but like, I think it's a really good game. Like, I just think it's a super solid game. It's like, this game would be the perfect game to play after Elden Ring, honestly, because it's like, Elden Ring's intense. This game's no intensity at all.
That's basically what I did. So,
Yeah. No, I'm saying it's perfect. So anyway.
So the other game I beat this week was The Last Guardian.
Oh, how'd you find it?
The PS4. So
Do you think I'd enjoy it?
I knew going into this game. I'll answer your question at the end.
Yeah.
I knew going into this game that it had a mixed reception on launch. Outside of the fact that the game was delayed in production for a long time, I'm not even talking about any of that stuff. I just know when it came out, there was a lot of people like, this game is really fantastic. There's other people like, this game has issues. I wanted to really love this game, and there is a lot to love. The world that they create, like they did for their other games. From I think it's Fumiko Ueda, I believe. Anyway, the Shadow of Colossus and all that. And Trico, the big animal, like the griffin cat dog thingy, like the way that they handle all that is amazing, and you do feel a bond to them and everything. It's really great. And it has a great sense of wonder. Unfortunately, fuck me, this game is so infuriating to play. Like, if you had like a counter for every time I cursed at this game, it would probably be higher than any game I've played in a long time. I was so pissed off at this game so much because the controls are just so infuriating. And I've played those previous games from this creator. I understand that they make the controls in his games like different than other games to kind of give you a different feel and everything. But I wasn't getting frustrated at those games. This game, I was so pissed off. Like I felt like putting an audio recording just so I could play it back to you.
You should have just streamed it. It would have been funny.
The hell out. I got through it, and there was moments I loved, and there's other moments where I was just so pissed off at this fucking game that, and the thing is, like, that's outside of what a lot of the common issue a lot of people have with this game. Controls was a common issue, but the big thing was this is meant to be an animal, like, you're befriended them, but they're still an animal, so they don't act in the way that you'd always want them to, which is cool. But there's times the game has lots of puzzles where you've got them and the animal and you need to direct them somewhere in the environment. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, well, I think I need to go up there. Okay, let's go up there. I'm waiting. I'm like, please go up. I'm like jumping up and down, go up. A minute and a half. I can't get it to do anything. I'm like, okay,
so it's a companion animal that you don't control.
Correct.
Man, I hate that. Like, yeah, okay, go on.
So basically, after a minute and a half, I'm like, well, maybe that's not the solution. So I go around. I spent ages looking at other stuff and blah, blah, blah. I can't find anything. I'm stuck. I'm like, okay, I have to look this up. I can't be bothered. I'm looking it up. I had the solution.
Yeah.
The animal just didn't do what they were wanting to do. So it's like, what the fuck, man? So I was so pissed off at this bloody game. But it does have stuff to like about it. So to go back to your question, do I think you would like this game? Probably not. No. I think you'd have a frustrating experience. There'd be stuff you like, but then you'd be like, man, this game just pissed me off.
Yeah, I don't like games like that.
Anyway.
Because have you played God of War yet? You're playing God of War 3, right? Before God of War 2016.
You mean the remake God of War, whatever.
Well, I think people now say God of War 2016.
Yeah. No, not yet, because I wanted to play God of War 3.
Because I don't think this is a spoiler, right? But, because you have a companion, right? Atreus. And it's amazing how, like, I was so nervous when I started playing the game. I was like, shit, like there's a companion all the way through this game. I'm like, oh man, I'm worried now, right? It's an amazingly well done job. Like what you're saying, I've never felt that in the however many hours I've played God of War so far. It's like, I never feel like, fuck, he's not doing what I want him to do. And if anything, maybe it's a little bit too handholdy, which I'm finding more and more. Like PlayStation games are so handholdy. Like, hey, why don't we go up here? Or hey, why don't we pull on this rope? It's like, okay, I fucking know what I'm doing. Like, shut up, I'm about to do that. But it's never been like stuck or anything like that. So it'd be interesting when you get to that. I'm sure that's on your pile of shame.
It is, potentially. So,
I think you have 2 copies of it because of what you...
I do have 2 copies of it, so I need to play twice.
You should sell it. You should sell the other one for like $2.
Right. So now a couple of Game Pass games that I'll talk about that I played across probably last month or so. So the first one is a game by the name of Kraken Academy. So I didn't know what to expect with this game. Like some Game Pass games, I kind of just jump into it and I'm like, okay, it's called Kraken Academy. I don't know what it is. This is like a bizarre, quirky adventure title. it's like top-down 2D. You move around. You're a new student at like a weird school made up of like different clubs, and I think you join the music club, and you end up becoming a servant for a giant friendly kraken that's like in the garden pond, and it's a weird, super weird game. But I'm like, well, what is this game? What kind of game is it? I'm like, is it an RPG? Is it like just a top down like hyperlight drifter action game? It's just pretty much an adventure game. Like I played a couple of hours and I don't think I came across any form of combat or anything. So you pick up items, you walk around, you befriend people, you solve missions and problems and stuff. So I think that's all it is. It's just an adventure game, but I did actually quite like it. Like I ended up actually being a bit surprised by how enjoyable it was. It is a little, sometimes the quirkiness is a bit too forced, but there's like a time element to it where it's almost like a Majora's Mask in terms of you start the day and then you actually go through and there's like it turns to night and everything and you got to do stuff at certain times and things. It's pretty well written from what I'd played so far, but yeah, I actually quite liked this, honestly. I'm a bit surprised. So that's, yeah.
When I was trying to go through the B-roll to just skip to like a battle scene or something like that, I'm like skipping. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh shit. It's got very positive reviews on Steam, which I always think is probably the best indicator out of anything on the net. So
Yeah, it's not going to be for everyone, but I think it's a fun little adventure game. So
nice.
that was that one. The next one is
Your favorite?
a game that's going to be very interesting to talk about. Cricket 2022 or Cricket 22. So as anyone's probably familiar with me knows, I am not into sports outside of watching a bit of tennis here and there. I'm actually more of a fan of like the bar sports like your darts and pool and stuff, like in terms of even watching. But this game is made by Big Ant Studios, based here in Melbourne, of course.
Big up to Melbourne.
Yeah, it got bought by Nacon last year, actually in January. And they've been making cricket games since 2014. So they used to do the Don Bradman cricket games. Then I think they did a year where it was called the Ashes cricket, or they did a special thing at least that year for the Ashes. And then since 2019, it's just been like Cricket 19, Cricket 20, and stuff like that. Or Cricket, 2022. They also make the AO Tennis, the Australian Open Tennis games. So, but for me, knowing that I'm not a fan of cricket, I'm not a fan of sport in general, I actually approached this in the way that I'm like, okay, I'm interested in playing the part, because it's not too far off from the truth, of a player who knows nothing about cricket. Like I know basics of cricket, but I don't know like a lot of the like specific details, specific rules and stuff, right? But I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be that person, let's say, that lives in the US, knows nothing about cricket, that sees this on Game Pass and is like, okay, I'm going to pick this up and play it, and see how it onboards new players who may not be super familiar with cricket. So I went in the tutorial and things, pretty easy to get to grip with at first, and then they started laying on the complexity quite a bit with the different types of the bowling and the different types of everything. And I'm like, oh, this is actually getting quite a bit more complex. It's very simmy. It's not very arcadey.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really great for people that love cricket. It seems quite well made. I know they've been making these games for a while, so I think they've kind of honed their approach to this. But I think the thing for me is the fact that this is on Game Pass. Because look, the people buying this game before it got put on Game Pass are obviously cricket fans. They know cricket. They don't need to know what an LBW is or whatever, right? But since it's got added to Game Pass, you're going to have a whole new audience. But this game does not explain anything about what cricket is. It does not explain any of the basic rules, any of the more advanced rules, anything like that, at least that I could find as part of the tutorial. So I think it really would have benefited them for a new audience to at least put maybe a bit of even a video thing is almost like, here's a quick overview, and you can find it from the menu or something. If it's there and I didn't see it, then I'm at fault there.
Yeah.
But it just felt like they could really benefit from that. So
yeah, that's really super interesting, because that basically means you're just never going to really grow your audience, because you're never going to recommend this to someone who doesn't have some skerrick of an idea about cricket, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes like you and I have both played like some of these sports games, more arcadey, but sports games that we don't know the sports. Like when we were kids, we were playing Madden, right? And that was super fun. Like that was awesome playing those games, or NHL and stuff like that. Like I personally think it's an awesome way to get the key demographic into your sport, which are younger people. Like, who's going to watch your sport in 20, 30 years, right? You need to get the younger people on it. So, yeah, that seems like a massive misstep on their part.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is like when they were seeing it was being added to Game Pass, or when they decided, obviously with Microsoft, to do that. It's like, to me, I would have been like, well, what can we do to get that audience? But
Yeah.
anyway,
Because that, you could do it in such an easy way at the start of the game going, hey, do you know the difference between a flipper or a wrong'un? Or like, it's like, yeah, or like what the F is a wrong'un or whatever. And then you just like separate the audience into like, I know nothing about cricket versus like people who are passionate about it.
The thing is, right, even the most basic rules of cricket, even as an Aussie, you understand the basic rules of what cricket is in terms of, okay, you got the batter and the bowler, you got to do runs while you hit, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying it's too far off from something like your baseball and stuff as someone who's never learnt it, but it doesn't explain, it doesn't talk about anything like that.
Just get straight into it, yeah.
It assumes the knowledge. But look, it seems well made. I think for cricket fans, it'd be fun to play. So.
Okay, cool. Nice.
All right, next game is a very odd little game called The Dungeon of Nahulbuk, I think it is. Nahulbuk.
It's a horrible word.
I'll explain a bit in a second. The Amulet of Chaos. So this actually came out in 2020 on PC. From what I've played, and I didn't play too much of this one, it seems like a solid, if not a pretty kind of generic tactics RPG in terms of its gameplay. So I think XCOM with taking cover, setting Overwatch and things like that. But to me, what was more interesting about this game is the setting of it is actually based on a French IP, actually an online audio series that came from like 2001 called Le Donjon des Nahulbuk or something, but basically dungeon. But this is actually like a whole IP that's got books, it's got like comic books and everything, and it's all a parody of Dungeons and Dragons. So it's all tongue in cheek. Like your characters are just called warrior and elf and everything, but they've actually got established characters that fans of that IP have known for well over a decade now. So they've basically turned that into a pretty, little solid tactical RPG, which seems all right. It looks nice when you actually see the character animations and everything. The dialogue is a little grating. It's very much like breaking the fourth wall all the time and things. To me, it's kind of like if you mixed Munchkin, which I do like, Munchkin and XCOM, not Xbox, XCOM. That's kind of the feeling I got from this game. So I'll probably give it more of a proper shot eventually. But it seemed all right. So.
Yeah, Munchkin being a tabletop game, which I love because it actually kind of intentionally has in the rule book. Sometimes we don't really know what the rules are, so you have to decide amongst yourselves.
The owner of the game has the final say.
I do love that because that's every my wife and I love playing Carcassonne. Like we have a lot of the expansion sets because that's a good 2-person game. That's different than chess or something like that. But there are points where it's like, wait, the rule's saying this, and then the expansion saying that, and then we have to download this fan version of the manual. It's like 300 pages.
Jesus.
We have a printed version of it in our house. It's like because we're both like very rules based, so it's like we go through it, and like people are like debating about what the rules should be. So I do like Munchkin's approach of like, okay, like it's hard to figure out, so like let's just throw it to the owner.
Cool. And the last game I'll talk about is a game that actually was a new release I didn't realize on Game Pass called A Memoir Blue. So this game is a little hard to describe at first. They call it an interactive poem. When I played through, it felt more like an interactive music video, if that makes sense. Like it's very focused around the audio design, but basically it is like a narrative game with some light puzzles and things, but it's about a story about a professional athlete's memories of her mother. And it's a really unique concept. Apparently it's based on the life, or, the memories of one of the actual designers. So you go through and you experience kind of her memories and of her growing up and everything, and with her parents splitting up and stuff, but through these fantastic, cool kind of scenes. And at first, I was really put off from the game because in the first opening scenes, it failed to convey how to actually interact properly with the game, which seems like a cardinal sin with gaming. So I was really put off. I'm like, well, I understand what I need to do, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to input to drag this. I think I had to unlock a phone that was lying on the table. And I didn't realize you have to hold the input button down and then use the stick to drag the cursor across while holding it. So once I understood that's what the game was wanting, is the holding and the moving, then I'm like, okay, then I kind of was able to get through it. But I actually ended up really enjoying this by the end of it, because I did actually complete this. It's not very long, because there are moments where at first I'm like, this doesn't feel earned. Like, it's all trying to be all emotional, doesn't feel earned. But then there's a moment where it's like, okay, it started to click with me, because, as I said, it's a story about her and her mother. And, like, I started getting me thinking about my own relationship with my mother,
Yeah,
who
wow.
passed away a few years ago. And it's like, I think once you start to make that connection, then the game starts to have more impact. And it's got a really nice art style, beautiful music, very like Sarah Blasco, like indie pop folky, but it's in a good way.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's pretty short. I think I beat it in under 2 hours. It's not meant to be anything longer than that. I think it's a really nice game if you're just wanting a chill experience, but just don't expect it to, give you. It's not an action game or anything. So
Yeah, fair
yeah,
enough.
I thought it
Yeah.
was quite nice. So
Yeah, like it's cool, especially becoming a dad. If it feels like so many of those things you get more emotional about, and as you just get older, you go through more shit in life, and I don't know, you become more like a human rather than a robot. At least that's
yeah,
my experience of the human condition so far. I can't feel empathy until I feel the thing that you go through. But yeah, no, that's interesting. I really do love the idea of games like that. I don't necessarily love playing them, like depending on how they click with me, but I do like the medium being a bit more than just like, action arcade shooters and all this other kind of stuff when it
yeah,
can do more. Like because it's interactive, it's actually like a really cool way to
yeah.
experience a story.
I think not thinking of this game as a game is probably going to help you if you go to it.
Yeah,
It's
like
like if
yeah,
yeah,
exactly, like a
yeah,
gamey game. So,
yeah.
all right, cool. That's all you've been playing, Swinny?
That's all.
All right, let's move into the news. So, in news that would excite Swinny, 2K and Gearbox Software have announced a new Tales from the Borderlands game, which will be coming out in this year. So the announcement was made at PAX East this week. The original 2014 series was made by Telltale Games and was highly regarded. The follow-up is being made in-house at Gearbox and has been in production for a few years. Swinny, do you want to take the rest away? I know that you're excited about this.
Yeah, because Tales from Borderlands was great, like shockingly great. I'm not a huge fan of the Telltale style of gameplay, but this Tales from Borderlands had really well written characters. It was, as mentioned, it wasn't written by Gearbox, but it still had the vibe of Borderlands. But it was essentially felt like its own thing. And they did some of the characters from Tales of Borderlands did go on to be in like Borderlands 3, and I think some people actually felt that the way that they were treated in Borderlands 3 felt like it just felt a bit odd. It's like, okay, you've taken these characters and amped them up to 11, because the Borderlands games, the mainline games are kind of super over the top,
Yeah.
whereas this was a little bit more down to earth, because it was more about the character building and dialogue and everything. But I think the reason why I think this is really great news is, it goes to show that, look, a series like I didn't think would ever get another one of these games, simply because of the whole Telltale
Yeah.
situation. But obviously, Gearbox, Gearbox have had their hits and their massive misses. But at the same time, I think it's great that they're actually doing this for people that want more of this style of game. It won't feature the same characters. It will feature all new characters. You may have them pop in as cameos, just like some of the mainline Borderlands characters were cameos in the first series. But the other thing is they're calling this a game. They're not calling it a series. So the first Tales from Borderlands released in 5 episodes, like the majority Telltale series did.
Yeah.
Whereas they've called this a game. So
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
expecting this to be an episodic thing. They may potentially already, you get these voice actors and everything, then maybe they'll just record a whole bunch of stuff and maybe they'll do 2 games. I don't know. But they're not treating it as episodic from the teasing that they've said. The only thing they've shown at the moment is just like a teaser image with some silhouettes of potentially the new characters. But yeah, no platforms or anything are known, but it is coming this year. They, I think Randy Pitchford said on stage at PAX East. So that's coming very quickly. With on the what is it about games coming this year that we didn't know about? Like we had Monkey Island last episode.
Oh, but I think it's the whole COVID thing, and then also Cyberpunk disaster, right? Of just like, and we'll cover that next in the next story about just release dates changing. But I just think people don't feel 100% comfortable or confident that certain dates are going to get hit. You just before we move on, like on the episodic sort of approach, I feel like they've tried that. Like many people, Telltale most infamously or famously, depending on your view. I just don't feel like it works very well in games, in my opinion. And I'm actually shocked to see that Telltale, the revival of Telltale, that especially with Wolf Among Us, the sequel that they announced, that they're still going to go with an episodic approach to that. It just feels very strange to me. I agree with your view. I think that this game will be a game and it won't be broken up into pieces. I feel like it doesn't help the hype of your game by splitting it up into little bits.
Yeah, I think there are some benefits, but I agree. I think most of it is it just feels like it drags on, especially if we had some episodes of Telltale games that were just delayed and delayed and delayed. So you had months and months between them. And obviously, famously, you've got Half-Life Episode 3 as an example of people just being really let down, that there was no kind of follow-up onto a loose thread there. But yeah, it's an interesting space. I mean, the whole industry's changed since that era, and maybe doesn't. Maybe they tried it and it just didn't. Well, for Telltale, it worked out for a while, but obviously the bottom fell out eventually. So.
Well, I think it was very novel at the start, and it was almost like a really great way to garner attention with the media. Like, oh, this game is coming out in installments. It's like, oh, wow, this is a really cool idea. But I think ultimately it gets back to, you need to have like a pretty big bang for your game. I love marketing. I don't know much about marketing. Weirdly enough, I don't know if you know this, but I don't want to dox myself, but I'm technically in marketing now, my role where I work. Like I'm officially in marketing, right? Which is super bizarre.
I am so sorry.
But I don't do any marketing stuff, but I'm officially in marketing, which I think is hilarious. And I've noticed the demographic change massively compared to the other teams I've worked with. But what I was trying to say is that I do love this element of the games industry. And then I look at what happened with Horizon Forbidden West and Elden Ring. It's like, it feels like it was a Mexican standoff, and they're just like, oh, we're going to pull the trigger. We're just going to keep the game at this release date. And to me, what a terrible decision, honestly. Like, imagine if they release that game now, or like in May, where like there's a few games coming out, like, but nothing massive. No AAA games that I'm aware of are coming out in the next month. And I feel like everyone's played Elden Ring. It would be like time to like have a game like that come out. But instead, it's like people have missed that game. Its sales are like terrible compared to what they were expecting. So, yeah, no, I love the marketing element of it. But I'm surprised that Wolf Among Us 2. They're talking about it being in installments. But yeah.
So, talking about release dates.
Yes, we're talking about release dates. So nice segue, Swinny. So Nintendo's been busy this week with a dynamic duo of release date drops. So Xenoblade Chronicles 3, is dropping 29. Maybe I get the right one up. Yeah.
Sorry,
29 July. That's all good. Which is over a month earlier than the original September release window. I do love Nintendo fans. I am a Nintendo fan, and people getting really annoyed with the following one, which is Splatoon 3, which has now been officially announced as the 9th of September, where people have said, what the hell, this has been delayed. This is meant to be in summer 2022, so this North American summer, right? The thing is, like, summer is not like ending in August. Like in North America, summer is like, I think all the way to the 22nd of September. So it's still in that same window. I find
people getting annoyed. The game, like, September's not that far away. Like, what the hell?
No, but it's more like they're saying, oh, it's been delayed. And quite honestly, I think the game has been delayed. So when this was announced that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was being moved forward, I'm like, hey, I want to talk about this. Like, this has to mean that Splatoon is getting delayed or like getting pushed back a little bit to get more time. And then like within, what was it? Like 2 days, like, as you've written.
Yeah.
Bang, here's Splatoon 3 and here's the date for Splatoon 3. It's like, this is so obvious that these games switched order.
It's just crazy to me that the Xenoblade games, and I've only played the first Xenoblade Chronicles for maybe about 5 hours. They're so massive in scope and there's so much production value to them, but they just seem to make them so quickly in terms of like relative time for game development. The fact that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was ready to be moved up.
I know, that's amazing.
Monolith Soft, they're like from Soft. Like, what is these soft developers, you know? They must bend space and time to create their games.
That's funny. And you know, they're also working on Breath of the Wild 2, because they worked on Breath of the Wild 1. They did all the sort of, you know, the landscape and the settings and all the setting and stuff like that. Yeah, well, they're amazing at that, right? But you're right. Like, when did Xenoblade Chronicles 1 come out? Was that like 2009, 10, something ballpark like that?
I don't know, but there's been 4 of them now, like including this new one. So
yeah, that's where I was getting at. It's like, how insane is the production of like these massive games, like Xenoblade Chronicles X, which I don't know, are they ever gonna bloody release that? Yeah, it was 2010. Release it on the Switch, Xenoblade Chronicles X. Like, it feels weird to me that they didn't bring that out on the Switch. It feels like just such a free hit, you know?
Yeah, like, and these games have so much voice acting and like so much in them that it's just crazy.
I don't know my issue with Xenoblade Chronicles, but I like own all the Xenoblade Chronicles games and not have played more than like a couple of hours of any of them. Like, I'm even talking about, I've got Torna, the Golden Country, like physical, which is like fairly rare. I don't know why. I love the design of it. I love like the setting. I love everything. But then I start playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I'm like, no, I need to go back to Xenoblade Chronicles 1 first. So.
It's funny. I've got like a PS2 special edition of Xeno Saga Part 2. Which is
nice.
Soft as well.
Nice.
And I've never played it because I don't have Part 1 of my PS2. But honestly, the actual trailer, when I watched it for Xenoblade Chronicles 3, like, man, that game looks really good. Like, the battle system UI, everything is like, man, this is looks slick. You know, like, it's kind of crazy. I'm
happy to ship you down my Xenoblade Chronicles games if you want.
Well, I've got it to play on the Switch. You got
the definitive edition.
Of
1. That's funny. Okay.
But look at on the footage at the moment. Look how nice the battle UI looks.
Oh, it looks so amazing.
Good, man. And then you've got a game like bloody Pokemon. Anyway, that's
yeah. So I mean, like, Nintendo did steal my thunder. Like, Splatoon 3 being announced, I am like ultra hyped about this game. I definitely don't want to dox myself, but there's reasons why I want to, you know, take a day off around that time anyway, which I will. But now this game's coming out on the Friday. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take Friday off work. And I'm going to get this digitally, Swinny. You'd be proud of me. I'm going to get it digital. I'm going to get it like day 1. So I might start playing it at midnight, jump in the game. And then also, you know how they have those, they have it in Australia and Europe, I think, where you can buy like a pass to buy 2 games, like a game voucher. I should check if they still sell it, actually. And it's like, you get it like for certain percentage off. For these kind of games, it does work out pretty well. I'm going to get that voucher because I've been waiting for 2 games to buy, right? And now this is going to be the second one. Now the first game that I'm going to buy digitally, finally, is Smash Brothers.
It's funny you say that. I was around at my nephews and nieces, or my sister's place, but and I took a couple of Switch games with them for them to play while I was there, and one of them was Smash Brothers, and I left it there and on purpose, and I'm like, did I do that to force myself to buy the digital version of Smash Brothers like you just did, so I don't have to swap the card each time?
I know this is like, maybe one of the greatest first world problems ever, right? Or examples of it, but it genuinely does bother me for multiplayer games switching the card out. And from that time on with Smash Brothers, I just decided I'm never going to do it again. I'm not, like, any game that's predominantly multiplayer, I'm just gonna get digital because it's gonna shit me too much. So no, Splatoon 3, like just quickly on it, like super hyped about this. The footage looks awesome. I mean, the biggest criticism I have is it looks like more Splatoon, which is awesome. But looking at it, I'm like, I mean, I could show you this and go, this is Splatoon 1. And I've actually like tricked you, Swinny. This is the B-roll for Splatoon 1.
The question,
like, you're not going to be 100% sure, right?
The question is, though, other than adding just more to the same thing, what else do you do with Splatoon as a multiplayer game? Obviously, you can do different stuff with single-player content.
Yeah.
But what else do you do?
Well, but I think it's very easy for Nintendo because, let's be real, like, I love Nintendo and I love Splatoon. Like, I've played Splatoon on the Wii U and then Splatoon 2 on the Switch. And, like, put in, like, I don't know, 100+ hours. I gotta say, like, the party system, if I compare it to Halo 3, which was like, what, 2008? It sucks, man. It's embarrassing. It's literally embarrassing for me because I was like telling you, hey, you got to play Splatoon 2, da-da-da. We jump on. It's like, oh, wait, no, we can't be in the same party. We have to have like 4 people to play 4-on-4. And you know what a mess it was, right?
Yeah, 100% agree. I'm talking like when people just looking at the moment-to-moment gameplay, not the systems behind it. Like, what else do you do to that? But 100% with the party, like,
yeah,
and that's from someone that's probably played it an hour.
Yeah, but you know, even on that though, Swinny, I think that's just like Counter-Strike, like realistically Call of Duty, like all of those games, they don't really evolve that much, right? But I think everyone's happy with the moment-to-moment gameplay. It's all the stuff around it, the quality of life, I think that people care more about. And I think for me, like Splatoon, how it works mechanically is like they pretty much perfected it in Splatoon 1. It's everything around it. Like, I love the art. The art's amazing in the music. But the systems of, like, parties and all this kind of stuff, it's fucking annoying. It's like, really detrimental to the game. Like, Rocket League. I know it's, like, a high bar, but if they just had the same systems as Rocket League, I fucking would play so much Splatoon. Like, I'd be on that shit all the time. Because, like, the online working well... Like, I have to say, if the online works way better than Splatoon 2, I'm going to be playing a lot of this game. Because Splatoon 2's online's horrible. Like, I have a rock solid connection and I get like timeouts and dropouts and shit like that. So, but outside of that, let's go into the rest of the release schedule because, like, I'm just like looking at it. Like, I kind of forgot that Switch Sports is coming out this week for Nintendo. I'm gonna get onto that. And then Mario Strikers is in June, like the start of June. I'm like on the fence about that. I don't know where you sit on that.
Oh, look, I never got a chance to try the original GameCube, so I'm sure it's great. I've heard it's great.
Yeah, I've played a bit of the original on GameCube, and I love it. It might be one of my favorite sports titles for Mario, like Nintendo, outside of, you know, Mario Kart, if you call that a sports title. I'm just very wary because the last few outings, like the golf outing, all the stuff, it's sort of like they're good, but they just like lack that Nintendo next level polish for me. So I'm not going to jump on it. The one that I am going to jump on is Fire Emblem Warriors, which is the Three Hopes. So, you know, very similar to what they did with Age of Calamity with Breath of the Wild. I wasn't going to buy this originally, and then I'm like, you know what? I love that Age of Calamity game so much. Like, it shocked me how much I enjoyed that.
Did you ever try the first one?
Yeah. So I played that on the Wii U, and I liked it, but I think the thing is, I'm just not very familiar with the characters.
Yeah.
So that's like a massive thing, right? Whereas with Three Houses, I love the characters in Three Houses. Like, jumping back to Three Houses, I was like, damn, I love the characterization of these people. Like, it's really fun. So yeah, I looked at Warriors. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna get it, stuff it. Like, it's an awesome game to just plow in some dumb time. Then obviously they've got Pokemon, the next gen Pokemon games coming out later this year.
How crazy is it? We've got more Pokemon coming out this year.
But that's what they always do. That's what they do every 2 years.
Yep, no, but I'm saying like
with Atreus,
Arceus, whatever.
Arceus,
it's like
Arceus.
It just feels like that was so recent, you know. Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
And I felt like there was a bit of a hole in the lineup, but I do look at it, and I know you've like done a good job here of like, you know, you got the Mario movie coming out before Christmas this year, which is going to be massive, right? And I always thought there's going to be a Mario game this year, but maybe not with the Mario movie coming out. Maybe that doesn't actually make sense. I don't know, like maybe it makes more sense after the Mario movie, like, 3 to 6 months after that movie, if it's like a big success, having a game come out straight after that, it's just going to sell more. So,
I mean, they could always do, if they wanted something at the same time or in that
yeah.
era, they could always do like a little bit of an expansion thing for Odyssey.
Yeah,
as
that'd be
well.
cool. Oh man, a DLC, dude. Yeah, you're speaking my language now.
Kind of
But
like just think what they did, look, obviously they're now doing DLC for a bunch of their games,
yeah,
but Mario has just never really been a DLC kind of game. But the closest thing is, and it's very different, but is obviously Bowser's Fury. So
yeah,
it's kind of like I could almost see them doing something like that again, but for Odyssey this
yeah.
time.
No, that's true. And like they never had DLC for Zelda, and they did that with Breath of the Wild. I think, look, under the new president, he literally came in saying we need to sell more to when people enjoy our games. Like essentially going, we need to sell more DLC, which
Nintendo, they don't make enough money. We need to make more money.
like, I know that people will say I'm a Nintendo fanboy. Whatever, I don't know. I'll cop that, whatever. But I think whenever they do DLC, generally it's pretty good value. Like the like Three Houses is a bit iffy. Like I think the Zelda expansion stuff was awesome. Like what they're doing with Mario Kart, that's like $25 Australian, I think. Like if you want to get it that way, for another like doubling the tracks. But then I did double check and I looked at their financials as well, and then also the fact that you can actually pre-order these games. But yeah, like it does seem like Bayonetta 3 and Mario and Rabbids is still pretty much on track to come out this year. So if that's the case, they're actually going to be pretty big games. Like I think Mario and Rabbids is going to do a lot more business than I think people are expecting. Because that first game's awesome, and I wonder if a lot of people were like, oh, I didn't jump on it, but this is a good opportunity to just jump on the next one. Bayonetta 3 is a massive game anyway, so I think they're pretty much set for the rest of the lineup for this year. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to be buying a lot of Nintendo games, I think.
And completing them all to keep a ratio.
Can I just say quickly, I'm being influenced by my own resolution, and I'm not going to buy Live Alive or Live Alive or whatever you want to call it.
When is that coming out again?
It's really soon. It's coming out 22nd of July.
Oh, okay.
So like right next to Xenoblade Chronicles, right? It's kind of crazy. It's like 1 week before. I think with the whole Chrono Trigger stuff, I'm not the biggest fan of these like JRPGs in reality. Like I love Final Fantasy VI. I love specific ones, but just in general. And then I looked at the art again and some more trailers and some more recent trailers that are coming out the last few weeks. And I'm like, I like the way it looks, but I don't love the way it looks. And I still haven't finished Triangle Strategy, so I'm just not going to buy it for the sake of buying it. So I do think that game, putting my mic hat on, I feel like that game will go up in price, the physical version of it. It's just one of those niche titles that I don't imagine they're going to make millions of copies. And it's going to be one of those ones that people feel like you have to collect for, I think, at least. But anyway, yeah, I'm not going to, well, yeah, I got to think about whether I want to buy it as an investment. Right, moving on to our final segment. And I think this is going to be you taking care of this, Swinny.
Yeah, probably me talking to myself on this one. So we actually had an update this week about the All Elite Wrestling video game that's been in production for a while now. Straight away, anyone watching on YouTube, I'll just clarify, this is very old, like a year old kind of teaser footage they showed. It's got nothing to do with this update we're getting. I just wanted something to look at. But basically, we haven't talked about this game since they announced it back in, I think it was November 2020. So, God, we've been doing the show actually for quite a while now.
Yeah, that's
we
true.
talked about it there, and it wasn't like the first episode or something. But basically, the name. People have been wanting to know what the name has been. And this week, seems like we've gotten the reveal from Tony Khan himself, the CEO of AEW. So at recent tapings, they generally tape like Dynamite and Rampage, their two shows on the same night. Dynamite's a live show, Rampage is a pre-tape show. And they were taping Pittsburgh, so Tony Khan actually came out and told the crowd, hey, you guys are going to be part of the AEW video game. It's going to be called AEW Fight Forever. So that is an iconic crowd chant that for modern wrestling, basically made famous by like Shinsuke Nakamura, Sami Zayn at Takeover and stuff, where it's like "Fight Forever," and it's like it's like exclusively for matches that just are absolutely off the hook. I actually, with that also being an alliteration, I think that is one of the most perfect wrestling names of game names. I think, like, it to me, I don't know, Intego, if you've ever been part of like, especially in a professional sense, having to name something.
Oh yeah,
and you
like
sit around,
even recently, I named something by accident.
yeah, and you're in like a brainstorming session and everyone's talking, and I can just imagine the person's like AEW Fight Forever. Man, just nailed it. To me, it's like the perfect name for this. So because it resonates so well with the hardcore wrestling audience, which is AEW's audience.
Yeah.
So, but I will say it appears to be, because the reason being, I think there's still one mobile title that they haven't fully revealed. So the hope is it's not for that. The hope is it's for the console game that's being made by Ukes together with the No Mercy director. And yeah, so the crowd was, they got the crowd to chant the different. So we know from those crowd chants that Sting, Hangman Page, Adam Cole, and FTR are all definitely in the game. You'd expect them all to be in there. Hangman's the champion. The others are all very big names for them. But yeah, it was I think just a really cool little update. I just wanted a chance to kind of just bring it up on the show again, and also just say the fact that I think it's an absolutely awesome name that they've chosen if it is for the console games.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's like I'm more fascinated about that whole AEW thing as a like business person, like because it just feels like it's so inevitable WWE are going to buy them.
I don't think so, because
because of the hatred.
No, I've mentioned in the past, like the people that own AEW are much richer than Vince McMahon, so I don't think that they would. Yeah, no, I don't think so. Mate, look, who
but it's
knows
not
in 20
it's
years?
not. Yeah.
But no, but the thing is, like, this is WWE have they don't outside of WCW they haven't bought any companies in a long time. What they generally
they haven't had to, because there's no one else competing against them, right?
No, there's been companies, right? Impact's still going.
Yeah,
so...
but nothing to the like AEW is, as a non-wrestling person, AEW is now at a threshold where I hear about it. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's not it. As a wrestling fan, that doesn't make sense. It's not a WWE thing for them to buy. What WWE is a WWE move is they wait for the company to die and they pick the remains. And what they do is they pick the talent and they pick the tape library. That's what WWE do. They don't generally buy the companies. They'll buy the assets in terms of like the tape library and stuff. But no, like AEW is riding high in terms of TV deals and everything like that. And but yeah, look, this game could end up being absolute shit. Who knows? But obviously the hope is that it's not. By all accounts, the recent WWE game was actually pretty good. So, which is bucking the trend for them in recent years. But obviously people want a new game to play. So I do. I haven't played a wrestling game in a long time. So.
And like Ukes have been doing the wrestling games for gazillion years, right?
Yeah, and they've been part of some bad ones, but they've been part of really good ones as well. So hopefully we're getting the good part of that.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. I guess maybe having more time and everything, hopefully that will translate into a better game. I think honestly it'll be important for the game to be a good game for AEW to go to another level, in my opinion.
The good part is they've got Kenny Omega, who is a massive gamer, and he's one of the executive vice presidents of AEW.
Yeah.
He's kind of, one of the key people running that part of it.
Interesting. Yeah.
So he would know what is a good game and what's not. Like, he's very much a massive gamer. So
interesting. No, should be interesting to see how it goes. All right, let's get into our famous segment.
World famous, is it?
Yeah, one Min For The Swin. So where we try to fit up all the week or the fortnight's news into 1 minute. We are now sitting at 192 words. So it's starting to actually literally be very, very quick, sweetie.
It's funny because Mike was doing 200 words for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I'm only getting close to it now.
But you're getting like some good like match prep to get up to that number, right? Like it's getting far. Like you're still getting it within like a few seconds.
I am. Is 1 Min for the Swin technically older than the Minute Mike now? It might be.
Oh, it might be. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It might be.
I can't wait to fail this. And,
You know, I'm actually going to be fascinated if you go, okay, you set a record and then we start with Mike at like whatever, 190 words or 180 words and then see where he gets to. So this could be like this long run segment.
you know, Mike, he'll be like, give me 220, you know, like he's not going to start low. So.
So as always, we'll start whenever you feel comfortable to start, Swinny.
Lucasfilm Games and Skydance have announced a new Star Wars action-adventure game. Infinity Ward are teasing the announcement of the next Call of Duty game, likely Modern Warfare 2. A Ghostbusters VR game has been announced for Quest. After playtest footage leaked, Ubisoft have revealed the cartoony free-to-play shooter Project Q. We have a re-release news bonanza! A bundle of remastered classic Sonic games called Sonic Origins launches June 23rd for all platforms. Bite-sized throwback JRPG Light Fairy Tale Episode 1 is coming to Switch on April 28th. The Switch is also getting a port of the 2011 cult hit Al Shaddai Ascension of the Metatron. No More Heroes 3 is coming to PC, PlayStation, and Xbox later this year. The Shadowrun trilogy are getting console ports. The Klonoa Fantasy Reverie series launches July 8th for all platforms excluding Switch, and LEGO Builder's Journey coming to PS4 and PS5 on April 19th. Switch Online has added Genesis titles Shining Force 2, Sonic Spinball, and Space Harrier 2. 343 Industries are targeting August for finally adding online co-op to Halo Infinite, and finally an upcoming LEGO Atari 2600 set has been leaked.
Oh, I didn't know about the Atari 2600 set.
Yeah, so I mean, it's
I thought we don't cover leaks. What
it's
do you
look, the Lego ones have been so on the money over the years.
That's true.
Basically, there's no image of it yet. It's Atari. It's the Atari VCS, which is also the 2600 in the old school like wood grain
Wait.
design. So
Wait, what is it? Is it the? Say it again. Is it the?
So the VCS, the
Yeah.
original VCS got renamed to the 2600 at some point. The 2600 also went through the model revisions. Like I had the chrome design with the color strip and stuff. But basically the wood grain design is the one that people are talking about. So
Yeah, because you know the Atari VCS is the quote unquote new Atari console.
Well, but it was originally called the VCS.
Yeah, I know.
The original one,
very weird how they did that.
So, I mean, from a marketing standpoint, I think they should call it the 2600 for the Lego sets.
I'd be shocked if they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually, like, I don't know why. Wow. I don't know why. It's the first console I ever played. The first game I ever played was on the Atari 2600. Why would I think of, like, getting that set? You know, what a maniac. Okay. That's cool, man. I'm just finding out that from you now. I might get that set, man.
Because it is Atari's 50th anniversary, and we know how they've celebrated in other ways. NFT loot boxes. So I would definitely want to get that as long as it doesn't look like crap. Because I'd like another set. Like I'm considering getting the NES set as well. So
I think I'm going to get the NES in question block. I should have bought it when it was on sale recently in Australia. I should have bought it then, to be honest. Because as much as I'm like, I don't need it. Of course I don't need it, but it just looks really cool. And same as the Atari 2600. Damn, that's pretty, yeah. I feel like that would be almost the last one that I get. I can't imagine getting that many more. Like, what else would there be? I mean,
think of all the Nintendo consoles they could do, man.
Yeah, but I'm not really.
Super Nintendo.
Super Nintendo, I would, yeah, but that'd have to be the PAL version, so they're gonna have to have two sets. And I wouldn't get.
I would get a 64 one.
I wouldn't get a 64.
64. I love the design of the 64.
I love the design.
One. I'd get a Game Boy one. Man, I
get a Game Boy. Okay, I get a Game Boy.
other than Wii and Wii U, which just look generic as hell. Like I love the design of all the Switch. Sorry, all the Nintendo consoles.
I was like dying. Like as we were talking about rumors, sort of quickly. I was so upset that Nintendo never released their little thing that leaked, which was like a case for your iPhone that you could plug in, and it would like make it like a Game Boy. And they were gonna have. I think it must have been like Apple that must have blocked them or something, like not having multiple games.
Can we talk about another leak rumor?
Well,
We
the Game
normally
Boy
don't.
Advance one, or
Yeah, the Game Boy
it
Advance,
seems like
especially
that's
for
real.
Switch.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I don't know. I really love modern vintage gamer MVG. I feel like he's normally my go-to guy for these type of things. It's like, is this real or not? Because he's a coder and he pulled apart some stuff and he's like, it looks like it's an emulator that no one knows about. Like it's not like just a standard emulator, open source emulator. So it's a very elaborate hoax if someone was to do that. And there was also a developer who develops on Nintendo consoles and was like, based on what I could see, it makes me actually believe it's real more. Like some of the stuff that seems like it's fake. So it's like, oh, okay, it must be real. Which I mean, like, wow, they're making a Game Boy and Game Boy Advance when like that's what the Wii U had, like even the Wii. So
I'm so pumped if they had Game Boy Advance stuff. I know they'll trickle it out in the crappy
Yeah.
library, but that was one of my favorite things about the Wii U is playing some Game Boy Advance games on the Virtual Console.
But you say crappy library. I mean, even like a stock standard 10 Game Boy Advance games, they're gonna have some gems in there, absolute gems. So
the thing is, some of the best Game Boy Advance games are not the first party games, so it's
yeah, I
that's
agree with
the
that.
thing,
I agree with
yeah,
that.
yeah.
No, I don't disagree with that at all. I think Game Boy Advance is like one of the weirdest Nintendo handhelds because it felt like such a like revitalization of the SNES library for that generation. So many of the people, like when I chat to them, they've actually played Game Boy Advance SNES games, and that's their experience with it.
Yeah, I'm shocked how like I always learn about new Game Boy Advance ports of SNES games. I'm like, I didn't even know that was on Game
Yeah.
Boy Advance all the time.
Yeah,
So,
and you're
I
right.
think
Like,
Soccer Kid, I think got a Game Boy Advance. I'm like, Soccer Kid was on Game Boy Advance.
yeah, and it didn't last for very long, the Game Boy Advance, because they were planning to have Game Boy Advance and DS simultaneously, and the DS just killed the Game Boy Advance. So like it only lasted like, from memory, 4 to 5 years, the Game Boy Advance. But it had a way bigger impact, I think, than that timing. Like Game Boy was around for like 13 years. It was insane, like how long that lasted. If you count the color as part of Game Boy, which I do personally, but yeah, no. Look, it's gonna be awesome when they have Game Boy and Game Boy Advance on there. That just feels inevitable.
Where's my analog pocket? Damn it! That's,
Yeah, well, okay, well now it's a race. It's like which one will come out first? Like we're not actually sure. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I'd put my money on Nintendo launching their thing before I get my pocket because my pocket's due next year, man.
Well, I think that they might be able to ramp up production because some of the chip shortage stuff is like getting better. But yeah, I don't know, man. But analog's gone a bit dark actually. Like they were meant to release. They actually said they were going to release the update to the Pocket, so the 1.1 update in January, and we still haven't heard about it. And it's almost May. I'm like, damn, man, they must be having like some really big issues getting the OS working the way they want it to. So
you know what was an amazing Game Boy game?
what?
Kirby's Dream Land.
Speaking of which, to close out the show, so after a lackluster first impression of the recent demo, I decided to give Kirby's latest adventure another shot. What did I think of the game? So, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. So, I picked this up because it was $40, which is about $30 US. I thought, there's nothing to lose here. There's all there is to gain. If I don't like it still, I will just make money off the purchase and be done with Kirby forever. And I've got to say, coming off Elden Ring, I didn't have my access to my PS5 last week. I really love this game, and I'm like done a full 180 on this game, and like I'll admit it, like I still think what I said about the demo stands. And going back to the demo really briefly, I can see what they're trying to do in terms of give you a taste of what the game is. But for me, the most critical thing about this game is the little mini challenges that it gives you. So to me, this game is not like, I don't think this game would be fun if I eliminated all the mini challenges. It would be really like ridiculously straightforward. I barely died in this game as is. And I think I'd just be like bored like I was with the demo. But the mini challenges, and they've always had it in Kirby games, but this one, it's like so well integrated into the actual game itself. And you can see it if you're watching the B-roll, like things popping up as you go through it. It actually does give that element of fun and challenge as well. Like, for instance, with pretty much all of the bosses at the end of the worlds, one of the challenges is to complete all the challenges is you need to beat the boss without taking any damage. And it sounds like, oh yeah, that's trivial. It's not that trivial, actually. Like, you're gonna sound like this is gonna sound dumb, but genuinely, I got through like Elden Ring bosses without getting touched more than some of these bosses, right? Just because it's like, oh, okay, I gotta just be like much more careful.
Kirby can't summon a little mimic Kirby.
Yeah, exactly. There's no mimic. And it's actually also amazing. And I'm surprised that no one's done this video. Like it's like a donkey style video. There's like a blacksmith in this game, and you actually can upgrade the takeover abilities, which is super awesome. Like it's actually one of the most fun parts of the game and really rewards you for doing the mini challenges and getting extra like basically currency in the game. And like there's this funny parallels with like Elden Ring that you can have with that perspective of like you're actually leveling up your actual equipment, things like that, going to the smithy.
So can you do a Kirby arcane build where he bleeds all the bosses?
Well, there was some stuff that I was doing, and I was gonna send you guys like a clip. It's like, oh, I'm really enjoying my like warrior build or some shit like that, because you can actually kind of customize which one you want to pick. But yeah, look, like as I said during the demo, the way the game looks, it's super awesome. The music, I really like the art style. It was just zero challenge. But having played it now and like with the mini challenges and trying to play it with that, it actually became pretty fun.
Can I just say, I think it's such a shame. I don't know, it's probably been a little bit, but you know how Doom, the remake, and Animal Crossing,
Yeah.
like, I don't know if it was the same release day or same release time.
Exact same release day.
So all those memes happened between those two games.
Yeah.
And I know
that's Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing.
Oh, was it Eternal? Okay, yeah, Doom Eternal. So I know Kirby came out obviously after Elden Ring, but it's such a shame that those two games didn't get that same treatment.
I agree.
Because just the jokes that I'm thinking of now, which are only funny to me, no one else. It just would have been perfect for it. What a shame. What a missed opportunity.
Yeah, but like weirdly enough, because I'm just thinking back to that time, I think Nintendo leaned into those jokes a little bit more than they almost ever would normally, with their Doom jokes.
Yeah.
I think like the most that they did was stuff like retweet it or something like that, or like it or whatever, right? Which is a lot for Nintendo. But yeah, I think that's probably more maybe like FromSoft and who was Bandai Namco who published Elden Ring.
Yeah.
They didn't really lean into any of those things. Because I agree with you. There's like so many things in this game, having played Elden Ring and then this game, where I'm like, there's so many funny comparisons you could make to the games. And also just like the boss battles of trying to like do it perfectly. It's like a no hit run, right? Like it was actually pretty funny. So, but yeah, like going to the game, like to me, and I always whinge about this, but this game is just such a good length. It doesn't overstay its welcome. If you want to like go through it a bit faster, you can start skipping some of the challenges, but it has like nice vibrant worlds, and it actually does, it continually incentivizes you more a little bit than any other Kirby game I've played, where collecting more of the collectibles unlocks more of your abilities, and then you can upgrade the copy abilities. And it's something that it'd be a shame if they remove in future games, because it just becomes one of those, it's almost like a light RPG element of like, okay, I want to like level this up, and I sort of leveled up all the copy abilities, and there's about a dozen in the game, and it's like, oh, okay, cool, I've leveled them all up, and then I realized, oh, there's another level to them. I'm like, oh shit, okay, I want to try to get them all leveled up, and then there's even like special ones depending on what you do in the game, and there's also like an awesome like post-game content to this, where it's not like new worlds, but they sort of remix the worlds a bit, and there's a bit of a challenge there that I won't spoil, but like that's a totally separate optional part of the game. You don't absolutely need to do it all, but I was like, oh, well, I have to do that as well. I haven't 100%ed the game, but part of it is like because it's not like super straightforward to just 100% this game. Like you actually need to like, it reminds me of Body Harvest in a way. Like there's some of the time challenges where it's not as hard as that, by the way, but
I love a Body Harvest reference in a podcast. Thank you.
But it's not as hard as that, obviously, but it's just like, you can see, okay, I got to make this time. You go through a level or like a little mini challenge, and it's like, oh, okay.
Are you meaning Blast Corps?
Blast Corps, sorry, Blast Corps.
I'm like, Okay, hey, I still appreciate
Yeah.
everybody on this.
No, Blast Corps. I meant to say Blast Corps. You go through something and you go, oh, okay, I've got to do this really differently, or like just way quicker than the way I'm doing it, and it teaches you a bit about the game and like that. I don't know, but I love those kind of games. Mario Kart's done it a lot in the past with the developer ghosts, where you feel like, oh shit, there's a way to play this faster, and it's almost like this conversation you're having with the devs that I really enjoy personally. The other thing I wanted to mention is the mouthful mode. So that's the whole meme around Kirby. So you've got the car and you're not actually like swallowing those things. I think that's the thing. You're getting your whole mouth around it, but you can't swallow the whole thing. I feel like this could be clipped very, very easily right now.
I'm sure it's been done many times with mouthful mode.
And you know what? Like, it's kind of weird because people do rightfully go, why isn't it just a copy ability? It's pretty much the same thing, but it does make sense in the design of the world, which I kind of love. Like, they've almost been consistent with this idea with Kirby and what Kirby can and can't do. And they, in a very Nintendo, I know it's Hal who made this game, but, Kirby's always got that Nintendo feel to it. It's got, the very Nintendo touch on playing with that mechanic. Some of those mouthful modes are just like a one-off type of thing, and they don't overstate their welcome either. So, look, like, I think this game's a great game for kids. Like, as I said, like, I'm happy to say I was wrong. I don't feel like I was completely wrong, because the demo to me is not a good representation of what this game is.
I'm glad to hear it. I had a feeling it would go that way, but when you said you bought it, I had a feeling that it would go that way. And the fact that you said that you were reviewing it, I'm like, well, he's obviously liked it enough to, not that it's a super long game, but to basically complete it in, I don't know, was it a week and a half or something? Like,
it wasn't even that. It was like 4 days or something.
I just know, looking at the footage that we've had on for the YouTube clip, like, this game just looks so delightful. It just looks like the kind of game just makes you happy playing.
Yeah, it's a real fun game. As I said, it doesn't overstate its welcome. It doesn't like become frustrating. I never got frustrated with the game, and I think if you're a completionist, like I also like Gerard the completionist, and I think he would give this a complete it rating, right? Because it just feels like that kind of thing.
I actually watched his video.
Did he say complete it?
I can't remember that thing, but he talked about, there's lots of collectibles and stuff in this game, and things like that. So it seems cool with that.
But in a fun way, like it doesn't feel like. One thing about Spider-Man I always felt was, you collect all these backpacks, and there's reasons why you need to do it to level up and stuff, but it does feel like a very old school Nintendo 64 approach to structuring it, whereas this didn't ever really come across like that to me. It was always like, there was stuff I saw in the level, I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could do it this way, and then there's the way the game does it, it sort of reveals the hidden mini challenges as you finish the levels.
Just looking at the footage on YouTube, that looked like such an Elden Ring, like the
like
big
slam
turtle
down.
in the blocks.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, man,
no, there's
you're
other,
so right.
There's
you
other
are so
things.
right saying you could do cross them games so much.
There's even more. There's even more where it's like, oh my god, I'm surprised I haven't watched a video on YouTube because it would be in my recommendation feed. But yeah, no, really liked it. Can't say much more about it than if you're on the fence about it, I would have a crack and play it, because like I wasn't even on the fence about it. I was like, I'm not getting this game. And if it wasn't on sale, I wouldn't have got it, and it might have just gone past and I've missed it, right? So not a great demo in my opinion, because ultimately a demo is there to get you into the game and sort of hyped for the game, and it did the opposite for me. Whereas playing the game, I actually really enjoyed it. But yeah, so I do you reckon you're going to pick this up at some stage, or
if it drops to a price that I'm happy to? I often do that with Nintendo games. There are games where they don't always end up being like, was it Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker or whatever the game is? Like, that's a game where I'm like, on surface looks like I'd love, and it just didn't really hook me that much. Whereas this just looks like a fun time. But I do like what you said there. You're like, okay, if you're on the fence, have a crack. So you heard it here from Integot. Have a crack at Kirby. There you go.
Hey, Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker, I played that entire game in the game trial week that they had in Japan. And then like I was done with the game. Like, it's actually a very good comparison in a way. It's like, it is that kind of game. It's just like very airy. Like it's not like super dense or anything like that. I'm happy to send it down to Melbourne if you want to play it, because I think Mike wanted to borrow it from me, so maybe it could
Mike
make the
wants to
rounds.
borrow everything. For a guy that doesn't like playing games, he likes asking to borrow games. But that's fine. Like I've borrowed games from him before. But
All right, well that ends my review of Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Give it a thumbs up. I enjoyed it. Next week, what are we doing, Swinny?
well, I put next week, but maybe it's not 100%.
It's probably the week after, I'd say.
Well,
Elden Ring.
that Elden Ring review and spoiler cast. If we're not going to do that this week, then depending on what we want to do, special features, maybe I'll do the Final Fantasy Battle System tier list.
Yeah.
But it depends on also how much. If there's lots of news, like there wasn't much news this week, so it was a nice, we could just slot in this review. But
Well,
I'd like to do that tier list.
Yeah, I will be covering Switch Sports because I'm going to pick that up on Friday. So, yeah, I'll sort of have a crack at that. So we'll have a chat about how that game is. I feel like just playing the demo of that was awesome. So I don't know, like that to me is going to be up there as one of the key party games from now on. So I'll see how that goes. And now with COVID restrictions starting to ease a little bit, hopefully we can actually have some people over. But yeah, I guess we'll see what we're playing, and hopefully we'll get Mike back.
Yeah, I expect Mike back, but Mike is almost like the definition of expect the unexpected. So
It's true.
We'll see.
Awesome. All right, that's it for now. Bye bye.
See ya.